What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ and Bucky back with you. Buck, how are you doing, man?
Man, we're great, DJ. We're in the thick of it. I love this time of year. Like, we got the holidays on the horizon. That means that we're getting closer to conference championship games in the collegiate football landscape. We got a couple rivalry games on the horizon. We have the football kind of making a turn. Like, now that we're past the midpoint, we're beginning to kind of get teams know their identity. We're kind of getting that playoff push. And, we're beginning to dig into some of these prospects that we'll certainly talk about once the calendar flips. And so it's a really exciting time, a busy time, but an exciting time.
No doubt. Today, we're going to get back to our rookie scores, see which rookies are having the most impact, which teams are getting the most impact from the rookies. We update that every week. So that's coming, as well as looking at the big game of the week, which is not a surprise. It is the Super Bowl rematch with the Chiefs and the Eagles, which should be a lot of fun. So we'll dig into that one in just a little bit. But a couple of pieces off the top here. First of all, Deshaun Watson, he's done for the year, unfortunately. Looked like he was trying to play through an injury, then got another one. Broken bone in his throwing shoulder, fractured shoulder. So he's done for the year, which is unfortunate, not just because you're losing your starting quarterback, but on the heels of him playing his best half of football since he'd been in Cleveland in that win over the Ravens.
Yeah, no, it's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate for a few different reasons. One, going back a couple of weeks, there were questions about Deshaun Watson's toughness and whether he had a real injury or not. I think that we on the outside should always kind of reserve judgment when players are talking about what they're playing through or whatever, and just kind of have enough grace to kind of deal with that. Two, I think it's unfortunate for the Cleveland Browns because this is a team that is kind of well positioned to make a playoff run. Despite losing Nick Chubb and not having their bell cow running back, this is a team that with their defense and with Deshaun Watson appearing to turn the corner, they had a legitimate chance. Now you put him on the shelf, man, how far can this defense take them with a rookie quarterback in DTR being able to kind of take over the reins? It's just really, really unfortunate that the Browns thought that they were solving one of their biggest problems a few years ago when they paid and acquired Deshaun Watson, and yet they still have a huge question mark, first because of the suspension and now because of the injury. Look, it'll be the third year next year of him coming on board, and we still are not anywhere close to knowing if he's the right fit for what they want and where they want to go.
Yeah, and obviously Houston worked out great for them. You can say they upgraded at quarterback with the way C.J. Stroud has played since he's been there. Now, a connection to this injury is that just as we're getting ready to record this, there was a report that came out that Ryan Tannehill wanted to be released. That, to me, would seem to be obvious, right? It's not Minnesota because Dobbs is kind of taken and run with that opportunity. But now that this Cleveland opportunity presents itself, and Will Levis is the guy there in Tennessee, it stands to reason that Ryan Tannehill is going, hey, get me out of here. Let me go see if I can help the Browns make a playoff push here.
Yeah, no, it does make a lot of sense. If you're Ryan Tannehill, DJ, it might not just be Cleveland. Maybe he has an eye towards the Big Apple and saying like, hey, guys, maybe I can.
The Jets,
maybe I can go up there because I think Todd Downing is up there. And
yeah,
Todd Downing
he's there as well as their offensive line coach. He came from Tennessee as well.
So maybe he has an eye towards like, hey, New York, y'all are not that far away or whatever. But he certainly is looking around the landscape. He's seeing the success that Josh Dobbs has had in a quick time transitioning to Minnesota and having success. He feels like he certainly can play, and wide language on the bench behind not only Will Levis, but I got Malik Willis there too. I want to go and play. I'm a veteran. I want to kind of finish my career the right way. It makes sense for him to push. What I'm curious about is, will the Tennessee Titans let him out? Will they let him out the building, or would they just keep him around just to keep him around?
I mean, I don't think the Tennessee Titans are winning anything. He's done a nice job for your organization. I mean, I don't want to make it simpler than it is. I guess you do have to think about that. But I'm like, we're not using him. We're not winning. Let the guy go. He's served us well. Let him go pursue another opportunity. That's my 2 cents on that one. Where you stand?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I certainly think that is the case. But let's take this. If you're the optimist in Tennessee,
okay,
would you release him to go to an AFC rival like the Browns, like the Jets, where maybe down the line, weeks 15, 16, 17, maybe you work yourself back into the playoff race, and he's starting for one of those teams that could potentially knock you out? Do you have the optimistic view that could play out, and you don't want to necessarily beat yourself by letting them hit the open market?
Well, then let me answer your question with a question.
If you think Ryan
Tannehill is that good, why don't you play him? How about he's not your third quarterback?
How do you would say that?
You can't have both.
If he's so good, we need to play him. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is one.
That's what begs the question. So that's why I'm like, just let him go, man. Just let him go pursue his opportunities and see if he can make the most of it there with one of those teams. But anyways, there's some connectivity there, which is a word we'll get to, I think, on tomorrow's episode. Is that when we're doing your coach's corner? I think we're doing that on Friday this week. Connectivity, spoiler alert, that's going to be your word. But to me, when I look at another quarterback situation that is out there right now, you talk about the the Deshaun Watson situation. How about what's going on in New England? This has been coming. It sounds like it hasn't been formally announced yet, but there's a lot of reports that, Mac Jones lost the locker room, that it's over, that he's going to be not only the backup, he'll be the third quarterback when they get back out onto the field. And it sounds like that era is over, which is, man, how about that draft class? First of all, we thought that was going to be unbelievable. Trevor's not playing great. He's struggling.
Yeah.
Obviously it has not happened for Zach Wilson. You look at the Trey Lance has been traded. Justin Fields is going to be back in the lineup this week, but that, they haven't won with him. And then Mac, I mean, it's just been, man, for all the hope of that class, it has not been great. But my question to you is, once you make this move, is that it? He doesn't come back from this there, does he?
I don't know how he can come back. If we're talking about he lost the locker room, it would be hard for him to come back, because ultimately it's about trust and belief. And the team has to believe that the quarterback that you have in place can get us to the winner circle. And if they don't believe that he is equipped to be able to do it, it's problematic. And if there's another quarterback in the building, whether it's Bailey Zappi, Malik Cunningham, that maybe they're a little more optimistic about, it would be hard for Bill Belichick and get conscious to stand in front of the room and say, hey, guys, this week, Mac Jones has the ball and we're going to win. Everyone will say, yeah, coach, right. But it'll be a very lackluster effort. And so when Bill Belichick makes this move, if this is what he decides to do, he has to know that there's no going back. And there's no going back next year. It means that we're fully committed to trying to find another quarterback to lead the franchise. And we just talk about like such an immediate and rapid decline. To go from being a guy that played at a Pro Bowl level 14 and went to the playoffs to 2 years later, he's the number 3, and his future is null and void in New England. Never would have predicted that, but man, this league is crazy and things happen really, really fast.
Here's my question. And this is outside in, just looking at things now with perspective of time. When we say that he lost the locker room, reports out there that he lost the locker room, my question is, when you think back, Cam Newton was there, right?
Did he ever have it?
They released Cam Newton because they couldn't have Cam Newton in the building with him. And the thought was because Cam had a lot of support. So you hit it. Did he ever have the locker room to lose it, is my question.
Yeah, you do wonder, because there was some thought, like, despite Cam's struggles his first season in New England, there were people in the building that revered him, that loved him. Even Bill Belichick, they never said anything negative about Cam. When they released him, they just talked about trying to find him an opportunity. It would be hard to keep him and Mac around because he's so revered that he would always command the adulation and adoration of the locker room. Well, now you release him, you give Mac Jones that. Maybe Mac played his way into earning the respect of his teammates, but now all that credibility has been kind of washed away with a season and a half of poor performance. I don't know if Mac ever had it. I think they were trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because you kind of release a beloved figure in Cam Newton. But now it's apparent he certainly didn't have it. They're not necessarily playing for him. And he hasn't done himself any favors just because, and we talk about this, DJ, when we're evaluating quarterbacks, and we're evaluating all players, but quarterbacks in particular, body language is everything.
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal, man.
And his poor body language, man, it makes it hard to really love him if you're a fan or if you're a teammate, because, man, when it's down, holy smoke,
it's very pouty.
It's slumpy shoulders, it's pouty lips, it's everything. Man, that's hard for your quarterback. It's hard for your quarterback to be like that, and it's hard for teams to rally around the position that's supposed to be a leadership position if those are the behaviors that you exhibit.
Yeah, and look, in his defense, that's a tough act to follow, man. You come in there, you're not long after Tom Brady has left.
All the winning
standard. Yeah, there's a standard, and whatever, maybe there's a lot of new pieces, but there's still a lot of pieces that are connected to Tom Brady that played with Tom Brady. And man, it'd just be a letdown. No matter who the quarterback was going to be, it's going to be a letdown. And I think that maybe became a little too much for him.
Yeah, I just can't imagine him having another opportunity to be the starting quarterback in New England. When you just think about just going from being a Pro Bowl player to now being QB3 to all the things that have happened in between. This is a franchise, they have the worst record in the AFC. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this franchise to draft the quarterback of the future. This could be a really great quarterback class that is coming into the National Football League. And if they finish with one of those top 2 or 3 picks, it'd be hard to say, hey, we're going to stick with Mac Jones and bypass a Caleb Williams or Drake May or anybody else who kind of finds their way to the top of the board. So for Mac Jones, I think what he has to do is this time that he's on the bench, he has to really work on his game. But more importantly, he has to look and try and figure out, how can I be a better leader the next time I get an opportunity to play quarterback in the National Football League, whether that's as a QB2 who hopes for a chance to kind of step in as a spot starter. He has to do a better job of handling all the other stuff that goes along with playing the position outside of playing better than he's performed in the last year and a half.
Well, is there a chance that, much like Alabama became kind of the rehab for coaches, coaches would get fired and they'd go to Alabama, be the coordinator, then bam, they'd go off and be a head coach. Whoever had issues, they would go there and it was a launching pad for them. Is there a chance that maybe someone like Kyle Shanahan could be kind of like quarterback rehab? Come in, we'll get you dialed back in. You're not gonna have to play, but we'll get you fundamentally, get your confidence, get you dialed in, maybe get you a little bit of work in the preseason. Maybe if you have to spot play a little bit, and then we'll get you off and get you another opportunity somewhere else.
So that brings me to another conversation when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers. If Mac Jones, let's fast forward to next year. Mac Jones released in the offseason. Let's say the San Francisco 49ers pick him up. Well, obviously he doesn't have any leverage to command any major money. Maybe this is the way that the 49ers kind of continue to operate with a quarterback factory without having to pay significant money to the quarterback while always having the other pieces around. Brock Purdy doesn't make a lot of money. We saw they signed Sam Darnold. He doesn't make a lot of money. If they get an opportunity to take Mac Jones, he won't command a lot of money. You're doing it with, spare parts at the quarterback position. But in that system, if it's the right fit, why wouldn't you take another opportunity, particularly if he is liked, like everyone says that Kyle Shanahan really liked him ahead of that draft? Why wouldn't he go there for that little rehab opportunity?
And you think about Kyle Shanahan's tree and his connections around the league, and I'm not saying that everybody would just take him at his word, but if you're a coach and you need a quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan says, Sam Darnold tears it up in practice every day. He's done a really nice job for us. He's locked in. He's going to be really good. He knows the offense. He knows the system. We run the same thing. Give us our mid-round pick. Whoop, off he goes, and then Mac Jones, your turn. You get to go into the development cycle here and kind of keep that churning.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for everybody involved. It makes sense for the quarterback. It makes sense for the organization because you always want to have good quarterbacks that you're cycling through. Howie Roseman said this years ago. It has proven to be true. Man, you always want to be in the business of the quarterback. If you can have a quarterback factory, there's always something that you can get in return, not only in terms of getting a good player for your team, but maybe getting a valuable draft pick from another team because you do a really good job of preparing quarterbacks in your system.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll hit on some rookies from this last week, their performance, and then we'll get to the game of the week, which is a big one with the Eagles and the Chiefs. We'll do that right after this. All right, let's look at some rookies from last week, week 10. The top performing rookies, again, this is our little system that we have. It was instituted by our buddy Jack. It's based off of performance and play time. So the most impactful rookies last week, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, a couple running backs, followed by Stroud, who seems to be on here each and every week for obvious reasons. Jaden Reed from Green Bay makes a spot on here, and Tank Dell, Texans wide receiver, who has been excellent. Then the classes, Buck, that were the top 5 most impactful classes: the Packers, the Texans, the Lions, the Bears, the Seahawks. So the Packers, I'm going to see them this week. Chargers going out there to Green Bay. I know the year hasn't gone exactly the way they would like, but I think, as much as Jordan Love dominates the conversation, they're playing a lot of young guys, man, and they're getting contributions from a lot of them as well.
They are playing a lot of young guys. They're getting contributions. They just haven't been good enough. Not necessarily the players. They just haven't played well enough as a team. You would think that defense would have been able to kind of light them up and get it going, but they haven't been able to do it. However, if you're Brian Gutekunst, you're Matt LaFleur, you're looking at the young guys, you're looking at development, you're excited about what could be. Now you just have to figure out how to take those young pieces and properly mix them with the older pieces so you can get some wins while you're developing those young players.
give you an example of what they're getting out of their young guys. So Jaden Reed, who made that list of the top 5 rookies for the week, he's 37 snaps, so it's a decent amount of snaps. So 84 receiving yards and a touchdown. You look at Musgrave, the tight end. He got 64 yards, playing 60 snaps. You got Anders Carlson's been a good kicker. He's made a couple field goals in that game. Dontavian Wicks, another wideout. He had 51 receiving yards. Carrington Valentine, the corner, 71 snaps, so he's out there pretty much the whole time. Van Ness, first rounder, he had 3 tackles in a TFL. Tucker Kraft, the tight end, only 6 receiving yards, but he played 51 snaps. So that's a lot of rookies that they're relying on, which, for whatever this season holds, I don't know this is going to be a great year for the Green Bay Packers, but you can forecast into the future. Look at the Lions, who are also on this list. Look at how those guys got better throughout last year. And now that sophomore class is playing really well. Then they bring up another class behind them. I just think there's reason for optimism in Green Bay beyond this year.
Yeah, there has to be reason for optimism. When you think about just the amount of young players that are playing, you talked about Reed being a guy that's been very effective on the perimeter. If they can continue to get that kind of development with him and Musgrave, and then you get Christian Watson playing at a high level, well, now you've already remade this wide receiver core, and you can have a lot of success as Jordan Love continues to progress. Defensively, they have some intriguing pieces that you just kind of want to fill in places. This is a team, and they had to understand that they were going to take a bit of a step back when you lose Aaron Rodgers. But if you reset, you refocus, and you add another draft class on top of this one that performs like this one has, you can do exactly what the Detroit Lions did and make a huge jump next season and kind of be back in that conversation as a playoff contender.
Yeah, I'll tell you with the Lions, man, when you have the skill players that they have, these rookies with Gibbs, Laporta, doing what they're doing on offense, then you have Branch and Campbell. None of those guys are line of scrimmage players, but what they've done, when you build up the line of scrimmage, it allows those guys, those skill position players, especially on offense, to flourish. They hit the ground running because you're a running back. You've got room. You've got an offensive line that can block for you. You're a tight end. They have time to get you down the field. You have to respect the run so you get better matchups. Like, to me, it all still starts with building in the trenches. And then, man, when you can build that solid core up front and now you start adding new pieces via the draft or free agency at the skill positions, there's no easy into it, man. Those guys can hit the ground running.
They can't hit the ground running. And I agree with you. We're alike in our philosophies in terms of building the team from inside out, investing in the trenches, O-line, D-line. You can't go wrong. When you have that as your foundation, it's easier to get the auxiliary pieces. And when I look at the Detroit Lions and how they're able to play, we can talk about how splashy it looks when you see David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. But the reason they're able to do all of that stuff is because that offensive line is maybe the best in football. Penei Sewell being able to kind of get it done at the point of attack, and some of those other guys that they've invested in. This is a team that has done it the right way. And to think back that Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell went through those early struggles, but right now they're absolutely beating the brakes off of people in a very physical fashion. And a lot of it has been done by taking their own draft and develop strategies and finding a way to win with homegrown talent, with the right mix of veterans coming from other places to give them that seasoning that this young team needed. It's time for the MTS Game of the Week presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, the Eagles at the Chiefs. The spread is -3 favoring the Chiefs. The over-under is 45.5. This is the game that everybody has been pointing to all season. A little Super Bowl rematch. We've seen these two teams on a collision course. We'll never get a chance to see it all over again. And when I just think about it, let's talk about it from the chance perspective, because the team that the Eagles are facing is a different version than the one they saw in the Super Bowl. The one in the Super Bowl was not quite as explosive as we've seen them in their heyday, but this was still a more explosive unit. This has been this version of the Chiefs has been led by their defense. Their defense is playing lights out. Stingy football, Chris Jones all over the place, young second-level defenders really growing up and becoming almost all-star caliber players. The defense has held them down while Pat Mahomes and company are still trying to find their way. This is one where I'm curious to see what kind of game this comes to. Normally, the Kansas City Chiefs want to make it a track meet. I don't think they want to play in a track meet against a Philadelphia Eagles team that is explosive, dynamic, and still waiting to put it together.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what this game plan looks like from Philadelphia offensively, because you mentioned the Chiefs defense is good. And especially that secondary. Chris Jones is where it all starts up front. He's a special player. They've got some other solid guys up there, but this team is the defense is cruising because the secondary gets their hands on you. They're physical. They understand. They communicate. There's just not a lot there. I think, to me, the Eagles come out in this game, Buck, and I think they try and run it. And I think Jalen Hurts, now getting a little bit of rest, that can help him as well. Maybe try and get involved a little bit with that run game. Even if he's not, I think they come out and try and establish their physicality on the ground offensively.
Yeah, establishing the physicality on the ground offensively will certainly help them have some one-on-one opportunities on the perimeter. My first question, can the Chiefs cover these guys on the outside? A.J. Brown has been ridiculous in terms of just making play after play on the perimeter. And then he is kind of complemented by Devontae Smith on the other side, who can also get busy on these deep vertical routes. They have the running game and DeAndre Swift, who can make plays. It's a very, very difficult offense can contain. But if they're able to run the football, and depending upon Jalen Hurts' health, if he is able to be a factor in the run game, well, now it's pick your poison when you're dealing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Kansas City Chiefs have weapons. Steve Spagnuolo is unafraid of bringing pressure from any and everywhere. But this offense from the Eagles is very, very difficult to match up with. I can't wait, man. This should be a great game to watch.
Yeah, I want to see who's going to be that other weapon for Kansas City. Obviously, everybody knows Kelsey has been the go-to guy. They've kind of struggled to find that next guy. Rashee Rice, to me, stepping up would be big for them in this game, having a nice performance. And then I also think, again, as I said with Hurts, I feel like in these big games, to me, when you've got a quarterback that can move, it can be a total X factor. I see it every time I see Mahomes play. I see him twice a year doing the Charger games, Buck, and it just feels like there's 3 to 4 back-breaking runs that he makes on 3rd and 4. I've seen him do it on 3rd and 10 plus, where he'll take off and get it. So I'm looking for Mahomes continue on that front, be able to use his legs to kind of complement, because they are still trying to find themselves offensively. They're not there yet. And again, I would say, I think as high flying as both these offenses have been in the past, and even obviously this year with the Eagles, I think both these teams come out and try and run it. Now we'll see if I'm crazy, but I think they both come out and try and establish some physicality here, because I think, when you get these pass rushes cranked up, it can be trouble.
Yeah, it can be trouble. And so you want to negate that. And the only way you can negate it is you got to run at them. You got to soften them up with those jabs, make them defend the run. Don't let them get in those track stances, as we talk about, and let them harass the quarterback. But this game should be a fun and exciting one to watch. That was the MTS Game of the Week, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code MTS. That's code MTS only at DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL.
Well, there you go. That's a big one, man. We'll be back to recap that one next week. But looking forward to all the action this weekend, including some college football as well. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow, be sure to check us out, because we've got Jed Fish, head coach at the University of Arizona. It's been quite the turnaround there. He has been around some fascinating figures in the football world, from Steve Spurrier to Brian Billick to Bill Belichick to Sean McVay, on and on and on and on. He's had quite the influences, and is a fun guy to chat with. So looking forward to that one. Hope you join us for that conversation tomorrow. Until then, we'll see you right here, and we appreciate you on Move the Sticks.